Yes, testing. What's up, guys? HY, yo, how's it going? YBM. Just gonna give it a couple minutes, just to get a few people in. Give people a chance to get in at least. Nice. Okay, everything working. Got the chat up here. There's me. So how's it going, YBM? You having a good day? Yes, thank you. Learning. Okay. We might have some educational videos in today. Got a couple of links here for some sort of back to basics kind of stuff. Maybe we can play them at the end. Okay, so first thing we're going to start is just a quick update actually. Let's see. Here we go. So, welcome guys. Episode 16 of Fiat Lux. First things first, we're going to talk about pay for NIM VPN anonymously with Monero. So, NIM VPN has integrated the ability to pay with Monero. So we're just going to read this article here, get you guys up to scratch. So privacy every layer, starting with your wallet. At NIM, we believe privacy needs to be protected at every layer, not just something you enable at one app, but something that must flow from your payments to your traffic and everything in between. That's why we're excited to announce you can pay for NIM VPN using Monero XMR, one of the most robust privacy-preserving cryptocurrencies in existence. Paying privately is a foundational step towards browsing privately, and with Monero, it starts from your wallet. So here we go. Monero plus NIM VPN, privacy all the way down. When you pay for NIM VPN with Monero, here's what happens behind the scenes. Pick your NIM VPN plan with up to 8% off on select subscriptions. Choose crypto and then choose pay with Monero at checkout. NIM generates a unique XMR address for your payment. You send Monero and it's confirmed on chain with no visible sender, receiver, or amount. You receive an anonymous access credential, ZK-NIM, to activate NIM VPN. Simply add it to your NIM VPN app and start browsing with full network level privacy. No account needed, no email required, no payment history leaked, no compromise. So this is a great step for NIM and NIM VPN. Really good to hear. So, and I'm sure a lot of people have been waiting for this, for sure. So let's see here. So then there's got a bit of an explainer on what Monero is here. So what's this? See Monero and the noise generating mixnet in action. Curious how using Monero for whatever you need can be even more protected while using NIM's noise generating mixnet. Check out this demo by the great Samuel Squad in Brazil, showing you how your financial transaction patterns are significant obscured while using NIM's VPN anonymous mode. Okay, let's have a look. Let's watch this.
Hello guys, this is Super Meia here with the Pinning Queen, and today we're going to do a demo showing you how your network behaves when you're using the Monero network. So here on the top left, you're going to see green packets leaving your PC. Each green circle represents a packet, and the size of this circle is relative to the size of the packet. On the bottom left, you're going to have the total packet count in real time, and right now we're starting a transaction through the Monero network. And you can see a bunch of packets start leaving your PC. And on the bottom left, you're going to see this huge spike in total packet count. So if someone is monitoring your network while you're doing a Monero transaction, they can clearly see a pattern of activity. And with enough activity monitored, you can start to pinpoint what this type of activity was. So even though the Monero blockchain is private, your network isn't. And they can start to trace patterns through the use of your network by the Monero chain. Now we're going to turn on the NIM VPN in anonymous node through the mixnet, and when we connect and switch over, you're going to see a clear difference. So right now on the bottom left, you're going to see a bunch of green circles leaving your PC, a bunch of huge green circles, and on the bottom left you can see this organized pattern of a huge amount of traffic. So your traffic is now constantly between 2,000 and 4,000 packets, and it stays the same. And while you're doing the Monero transaction, you can see that this packet does not change. So even if someone is monitoring your network, they can't really see or deduce what you're doing through it. So right now, when we switch over to side by side, you're gonna see the clear difference between pattern recognition without the NIM VPN and with the NIM VPN through the anonymous mode. So right about now, we're going to start sending the transaction on the left side, and you can see the pattern we saw before of a bunch of packets leaving and the huge spike on the bottom left. While on the right, the pattern stays the same and does not change at all. So if you're someone monitoring both these networks, you can clearly tell the difference and tell which user is using the Monero network. Thank you. This was our demo from the Pinning Queen. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And
okay, that was cool. It's nice to see a little visual here. I'm sure that's helpful for a lot of people. Very simple, easy to understand. Okay, so I just wanted to throw that in there first up as an update. Now, got some other news here. Might be the first time I've covered something on Solana at all on Fiat Lux. So this one is a tweet here from the Solana Policy Institute. Says here, Solana Policy Institute is donating $500,000 to the legal defense funds of Roman Storm and Alex Pertsev, two software developers who worked on Tornado Cash, a cryptocurrency privacy protocol, and now face prison time. These prosecutions continue to set a chilling precedent that threatens the software development industry if the government can prosecute developers for creating neutral tools that others misuse. It fundamentally changes developers' risk calculus. SPI exists to ensure developers can innovate freely and without fear. Read SPI CEO. What's this? SPI. That's the Solana Policy Institute. So this is nice to see. This is nice to see that some people from the Solana side are, coming over and helping the Ethereum devs. It's really nice to see. Definitely, helpful for the sort of the privacy narrative, and it's helpful for getting it around the ecosystem. It's already, you're hearing a lot of people talk about privacy. A lot of people shift their viewpoints on transparent blockchains. And so something like this, just really, really bullish for privacy in crypto. Great to see people on Solana kind of, supporting the Tornado Cash devs here. So, well done. So let's see. Excellent job. Let's see what people are saying. Excellent job. This is my first time hearing of the SPI. What a great concept. Writing code is not a crime. Based. Oh wow. News falls. Bullish on Solana. This normally gets done before a verdict comes in. Day late and dollar short. Wild move. We're getting there. 50 cent. Okay. So next up, we're going to talk about, got another article here. Monero accelerates FCMP upgrade after Cubics 51% attack attempt. So as I'm sure everyone knows, Monero recently suffered an attack from another network, Cubic. It's been quite a hot topic recently, and obviously there have been people putting out solutions out there. It's got a lot, it had a lot of people, I guess, worried, but it seemed to also strengthen the Monero community. It could be, it's sort of seen as a good thing because it's kind of pushed the issue. And so, the Monero community and the Monero devs are working like quite hard and quite fast now, I would imagine, in order to kind of test some of these potential solutions. So let's read this article here. Monero accelerates FCMP upgrade after Cubic's 51% attack attempt. After concerns arose regarding a potential 51% attack by the Cubic mining pool, Monero announced on August 26 that the development of its full chain membership proofs FCMP upgrade is advancing quickly, with a testnet launch expected soon. So following the recent controversy over a purported 51% attack by the Cubic mining pool, Monero confirmed on August 26 that its full chain membership proofs development is advancing rapidly, with the first testnet slated to go live soon. This upgrade is hailed as a significant technical leap forward, designed to address a long-standing vulnerability in Monero's privacy model. Here we go. Here's the tweet from @Monero. As a core benefit, the upgrade will enable Monero to generate zero-knowledge proofs that allow users to verify a transaction's validity without revealing identities or transaction amounts. The new technology will also dramatically reduce the time it takes for XMR transactions with multiple inputs to generate cryptographic proofs, cutting the process from over 5 minutes to just 1 minute. In addition, Monero developers have been cleaning up the codebase, removing redundant and duplicate code to make it leaner, easy to maintain, and less susceptible to bugs. According to a recent X post by Monero Research Lab, developers have also fixed bugs and cleaned up the Foreign Function Interface (FFI) to improve cross-language compatibility and reduce technical debt. Just going to put this back on here. So while there is no skipped a paragraph there. Monero's confirmation that FCMP is progressing well appears to be a direct effort to reassure supporters and address the vulnerabilities that motivated the Cubic mining pool to pursue a 51% attack. Monero is reportedly leveraging elements of Dash's technology stack as part of a strategic move to counter Cubic. While there is no consensus on whether Cubic actually achieved the feat, market data suggests that the broader crypto community was never fully convinced that the mining pool had indeed accounted for more than half of Monero's hash rate. While the claim led to a brief sell-off that saw XMR briefly plunge to just above $233 on August 16th, the privacy coin quickly recovered and has been trading above $250 ever since. The hybrid solution discussion. The Cubic's 51% attack claim not only reignited a debate within the crypto community, but has underscored the importance of transparency and verification within the blockchain ecosystem. Joel Venezuela, a Dash DAO core member, described the Cubic attempt as a fascinating experiment that should be a cause for concern for ASIC-resistant chains. Cubic only showed what is possible. Much better funded and more determined actors could cause so much more chaos. This could be the beginning of an extinction-level threat for proof of work. It's an evolve or die moment, Valenzuela stated. The Dash DAO core member, however, also believes the controversy could spur an unprecedented level of innovation on proof of work networks. Still, the claim has once again brought to the forefront the idea of a hybrid consensus solution for Monero, an idea reportedly endorsed by key developer Luke Parker. There we go, got a tweet from at the Fuzzstone. As soon as the Monero community started talking about POW and POS, proof of work and proof of stake, the price went up. Too many vultures started circling Monero at the exact moment Pubic launched his attack and began offering their help. We Monero community need to be very careful. Valenzuela also noted that Zano, which uses a privacy protocol similar to that of Monero, already has such a hybrid solution. However, while some in the Monero community are now warming to the idea, Valenzuela reckons the community is probably split 50-50 on this issue. And then we do actually have a video that we're going to watch, a little breakdown of Zano, because I've actually not looked into it yet that deeply, so figured why not watch that on stream. So the next article here, we got this one here. This one's for, I guess, the American audience, but it does kind of affect the broader ecosystem. So the Supreme Court opened crypto wallets to surveillance. Privacy must go unchained. Crypto transactions are vulnerable to warrant-free surveillance, making privacy-enhancing tools essential for blockchain's future. When the United States Supreme Court refused to hear Harper versus Falconer on June the 30th, 2025, the court essentially endorsed the Internal Revenue Service's sweeping John Doe summonses for cryptocurrency records. By letting a lower court ruling stand, the court confirmed that the century-old third-party doctrine stands for public ledgers just as it does for bank statements. Under the third-party doctrine, information voluntarily shared with another party, like a bank or blockchain, is no longer protected by the Fourth Amendment. When data leaves a person's direct control, constitutional privacy protections vanish. For on-chain transactions, whether permanently etched into any blockchain network, virtually every payment is now fair game for warrant-free scrutiny. Prosecutors, tax agents, and by extension, any adversary with the time to sift through open data can now peruse at their leisure anyone's financial information. Analytics profiteers weaponize radical transparency. No entity has cashed in faster than blockchain forensics vendors. The global analytics market is projected to hit $41 billion this year, nearly double 2024's total. Their clustering heuristics already flag over 60% of illicit stablecoin transfers, which on the surface is a remarkable statistic, but it also demonstrates how little pseudonymity remains. The pitch to regulators becomes irresistible. Pay us and every wallet becomes a glass bank. Yet the same dragnet slurps up innocent data into eternal spreadsheets, bursting at the seams with payroll, medical care, and political tithe data. That data becomes constantly ripe for leaks or subpoenas. Congress will not ride to the rescue. Only cryptographic engineering can close the breach until lawmakers reinvent privacy for the digital century. Not sure that's going to happen. Why would they do that? Some Bitcoin privacy methods let you publish a static, receiving identifier while generating distinct, unlinkable on-chain outputs that frustrate common analytical heuristics. Other approaches coordinate inputs from multiple parties in a way that blurs the usual sender versus change patterns analysts look for. Because these methods avoid custodial mixing pools, applying sanctions levied against Tornado Cash in 2022 is less straightforward. If wallets and payment services enabled such protections by default, rather than burying them as opt-ins, baseline privacy could become more widely available as encrypted web connections gradually became standard. Ignore privacy, suffer market fallout. Investors tend to ignore the warning signs until it's too late, and dismissing protocol-level privacy will have harsh consequences. E-marketer projects consumer payment adoption projects consumer payment adoption to surge 82% from 2024 to 2026. But the overlooked fact in the report is that only 2.6% of Americans are expected to pay with crypto by 2026. Mass uptake remains hostage to perceptions of security and confidentiality, and if coffee shop clerks can link tips to home addresses, mainstream wallets will stall. While that really sends morality chills down the spines of consumers, institutional allocators look down at the compliance minefields they face. Under the court's reading, portfolio managers who custody on-chain must assume continuous regulated visibility into strategies and counterparties. Funds transacting via privacy-enhanced rails will enjoy a cloak of trade secrecy unavailable to rivals who ignore the already available toolings. Silence is complicity. History suggests that markets reward early movers who cement civil liberty safeguards into the infrastructure that holds them up. For example, email encryption was once a niche, but now it is a standard for enterprise software as a service. The same arc can unfold for blockchain if developers, custodians, and layer 2 networks elevate privacy from just a feature to table stakes. Failure to act now will leave the ecosystem dependent on fickle judicial moods and ever-shifting stability. The Supreme Court has shown the world where it stands. The burden now shifts to engineers building meaningful and purpose-driven privacy tools. Either blockchains evolve to protect users by default, or the dream of decentralized finance becomes a fantasy that ossifies into the most transparent and surveilled payment system ever created. Wow. I mean, that wasn't a bad article. Quite a kind of chilling statement right here at the end. Either blockchains evolve to protect users by default, or the dream of decentralized finance becomes a fantasy that ossifies into the most transparent and surveilled payment system ever created. Just think about that for a second. That's the danger that we face, and this is one of the reasons why, you know, privacy is extremely important, more so now than ever. I'm sure everyone has heard about all the stuff in the EU that they're trying to do, the client-side scanning, what was it, EU chat control. It's only going to get worse. AI surveillance. So yeah, this is the kind of dystopian future that the potential dystopian future that we could run into if we're not extremely vigilant. So next up, we're actually going to go into a video here about Cardano. Cardano Midnight has been released, which is a privacy sidechain, and so we're going to just watch a little breakdown of this. Found this video, not too sure how good this guy is, but figured it was, it wasn't that long, so maybe we'll learn something here. Let's see what the Cardano Midnight privacy sidechain is all about.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I want to walk you through Midnight Network, Cardano's brand new privacy focused sidechain. We'll cover what it is, how it works, the airdrop mechanics, and why it matters for Cardano. Think of this as an educational backstage pass into the next frontier of blockchain privacy. In my opinion, it's just massive. First, a quick snapshot of what Midnight is all about. Midnight is a privacy smart contract sidechain for Cardano ADA that uses zero-knowledge proofs to let users keep transactions and app details private while retaining audit ability. It centers around your privacy. You decide what to hide, whom to share with, and when. The team have already initiated a massive community token distribution called the Glacier Drop. Midnight introduces a dual token model, utility/governance token, Night, plus Dust, which is a non-transferable and used for fees. If everything goes well, this could significantly expand Cardano's utility, especially for private applications and enterprise adoption, while also drawing in new users from other blockchains. This I will cover later in today's video, so stick with me. So what is Midnight? It's not a standalone blockchain, it's a Cardano sidechain built to allow privacy-enabled smart contracts. You get it. You write code in Compact, a TypeScript-based language, and Midnight runs it privately. It's built by IOG and Shielded Labs with oversight from the Midnight Foundation. Right now, it's in active testnet with mainnet imminent. The key milestones include developer docs, Hydra integration, and the ongoing Glacier airdrop, which is open right now. So let's talk about the architecture and tech stack. Well, Midnight, it piggybacks on the Cardano stake in an SPO infrastructure to secure the consensus, but remains its own chain. It uses ZK snarks to hide transaction details while providing validity. Developers build in Compact a DSL similar to TypeScript, which complies to WebAssembly and ZK circuits for both on-chain logic and off-chain proof generation. So let me talk you through what the typical transaction flow would look like for Midnight. User would prepare a transaction in their wallet with shielded fields for privacy. The wallet generates a ZK proof that the transaction is valid without revealing its content. Transaction and proofs are broadcast. Nodes verify it and include it in a block. Details remain encrypted. Only viewing keys let a compliant party, basically unmask it. The fees are paid in Dust.
Oh, there we go. There you have it.
Only viewing keys let a compliant party, basically unmask it. The fees are paid in Dust, generated by holding Night. So often transactions feel like they're actually free. So let's talk about throughput, fees, and security. Dust is what is used for fees. It's predictable because Dust is non-tradable and regenerates with your Night stake, preventing gas speculation, which we see on many chains. Midnight is also integrated with Hydra to scale transactions. During testing, they processed up to 1 million TPS. Security relies on ZK proof integration and leveraging Cardano's validator ecosystem. So why Midnight? Most blockchains are fully transparent, which is great for some use cases, but not for privacy demanding ones like finance, like your bank. You don't want your bank accounts being seen by everybody. Healthcare, you don't want your medical records being seen by everybody. And let's talk about enterprise, right? For me, this is what is required in order to bring in mainstream adoption. If you want enterprise, healthcare, and finance on the blockchain, you need to have a compliant privacy layer, and that is exactly what Midnight is. Privacy coins like Monero and Zcash hide everything but lack smart contracts or selective access, which is what Midnight can offer. Midnight offers programmable privacy where you can choose what is revealed and still have the integrity of your privacy with Cardano node trade-offs.
Can it though? That's the thing. If they're talking about all this there's stuff where, oh, well, in order to get mass adoption, get all this enterprise grade stuff, then we need to make this trade-off where actually you can be de-anonymized. So how can I have integrity? It seems contradictory.
Smart contracts or selective access, which is what Midnight can offer. Midnight offers programmable privacy where you can choose what is revealed and still, have the integrity, of your privacy with Cardano node trade-offs. As the kind of saying goes, it's a very important layer that has been missing and stopping blockchain from going seriously mainstream. So let's talk about the founders. Midnight, developed by IOG through a unit called Shielded Labs, with support from independent Midnight Foundation for governance. Founding names include Charles Hoskinson and Femi as well. The foundation president and Shield's technical team. The project is open source and transparent, aligning, if I can get my words out, with Cardano itself and how it operates. So many people ask me, what is the impact, or what impact is Midnight going to have on the Cardano ecosystem? Well, Midnight is a side chain that could dramatically expand the Cardano ecosystem by making it the go-to platform for regulated or private apps. Developers from other chains like Ethereum, Solana, etc. might use Midnight for confidentiality, creating inbound flows to Cardano. ADA holders benefit too, as many of the claimants in the airdrop. The risk, liquidity or activity could fragment across L1s and Midnight, and complexity in moving between chains, yet the synergy outweighs those risks if managed well, and I have full faith that Midnight is going to be a big success. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments below. So let's talk about the utility and emissions. There are around 24 billion Night tokens minted and a non-reserved for insiders. 100% is community driven, half is for Cardano holders, 20% for Bitcoin and 30% for other chains. Night generates dust for the fees and is intended for governance and validator incentives. The token has a declining issuance model from a reserve targeted approximately 3% yearly, and the vesting/unlock is staggered over 1 year to avoid price dumps. When we look at the unlock in 3 months, you're talking about 25%, 6 months.
Okay. Just want to know how it operates, really. We're not too bothered about the airdrops. See, roadmap, partnerships, risks. Okay. See what he's got to say about risks and challenges.
Yes. So anyone that knows me knows I like to keep it real. So let's talk about risks and what we should be watching out for. Technical bugs in ZK or smart contract systems, centralization if a few validators dominate block production, regulatory backlash if privacy features are misused, bridge hacks could steal assets, so again something to be very mindful of, speculation in Night price or poor governance turnout, and finally user complexity might slow adoption. Overall, the balance between privacy and compliance and adoption by developers and enterprise will demonstrate success. So, it's worth highlighting the potential risks, to, everything that goes on here. They are pretty standard though. So to wrap up then, Midnight introduces intentional programmable privacy to blockchain built on the Cardano ecosystem, distributed fairly and powered by modern cryptography. It is innovative with its token model and massive airdrop, that is kicking off a huge potential new era for privacy, in my humble opinion. Compliant dApps for Cardano users. Midnight could mean private enterprise-grade blockchain functions without stepping outside the ecosystem. So keep an eye on its mainnet. Claim your tokens if you're...
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it seems like just I don't know, a continuation of what we've seen already. Bunch of compliant privacy blockchains. I mean, maybe it's the guy's video, but I guess not impressed so far. Let's see. So we did say before that we're going to take a look at Zano, see what those guys are saying. So we're going to pop this in here.
True quality goes beyond design.
Oh no, another advert. There we go.
All right, here with Quentin Van Welzen, head of marketing at Zano. Quentin, good to see you, man.
Yeah, good to see you.
Beautiful day outside of Dubai, and beautiful day to be chatting about what you guys are building, because I think it's a bit unique when we talk about privacy in Web3 in the blockchain space. Not always there. People can see how much money you got in your wallet. People can see what you've done with the crypto in your wallet. Talk to me about, I guess, the problem that Zano is trying to address.
Yeah, sure. So Zano's definitely something else than most projects in the blockchain space. So Zano is a privacy by default blockchain that is crypto node based, and we are creating a platform for decentralized applications and confidential assets. So people can build their own apps on Zano and release their own confidential assets, but everything on the Zano blockchain is completely private by default, just like Monero, you could say.
Yeah, the connection to Monero is an interesting one, just kind of given, I guess, the relationship, both in terms of the problem that's being solved by Zano, and also, I guess, the people solving that problem as well.
Yes.
Since the developers...
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Talk to me about that.
Yeah, the lead developer at Zano is Andrei Sabelnikov, which worked together with Nicholas von Saberhagen, which you could say is the Satoshi Nakamoto of the privacy coins. And he worked together with him to create the CryptoNode protocol. So the CryptoNode protocol is the code base that Monero uses, for example, but also hundreds of other projects. And that is Nicholas von Saberhagen's work. But Andrei took that work and basically created a working code base of that protocol.
And for Zano, I mean, like, why is that so important to add the programmability, the ability to go beyond just simple payments, private payments that you may be able to use other blockchains for? I mean, what are you looking to do on top of that?
Well, there's lots of exciting things you can do with token creation. So that's also one of the features that Zano has, is called confidential assets, or in simple terms, privacy tokens, you could say. And you can compare it a bit with, for example, tokens on Ethereum or on AVAX or Polygon. But these tokens are completely private by default, just like Zano itself. So that opens a whole new set of use cases that we like to call PriFi instead of DeFi. DeFi is a very exciting world in the blockchain, in my opinion. However, it has a major flaw, and that's that it doesn't have privacy. So with these confidential assets, you can create a whole set of tokens on top of the Zano blockchain. Anyone can do that because they're user creatable tokens. So for example, you could create shielded versions of BTC or Ethereum on the Zano blockchain and swap them one-to-one. Or you could release privacy stable coins on top of the Zano blockchain. You could do that in all sorts of ways. You could peg it to gold or to DAI, or, well, maybe we'll see all of them. We only have the confidential assets feature live for about 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
So we'll have
So
to see.
very, very early days.
Yeah, very early. Lots going on, lots of development going on, but still early. Yes.
Yeah, and you guys also have now a new partnership as well, from what I understand, with Bitcoin.com.
Correct. Yes. Yesterday we announced a partnership with Bitcoin.com, which we are very grateful for. We have the public support of Roger Ver, who's also very big on privacy and therefore also on Zano. So we made a partnership with them. For now, we launched a wrapped Zano token on the Ethereum blockchain that is wrappable one-to-one to Zano, so you can swap them back and forth. And we have created a wrapped Zano/USDT pair on the Verstex, which is part of the bigger Bitcoin.com ecosystem. So you
That's a
can
good
trade
move.
it there on their decentralized exchange.
Yeah.
And they will also help us with marketing and promotion of Zano. And the most important thing of this partnership is that Zano itself, the blockchain, native Zano, will get integrated into the Bitcoin.com wallet app.
Yeah.
Which is very big for us because they have over 50 million registered self-custody wallets and over 1 million monthly users. So we hope to get a good portion of attention from that.
Yeah, and only a few projects from what I understand as well, in terms
Yes.
of Avalanche and Polygon being the only other main.
Yes, only the big names that you know. So Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, and the ones that you mentioned.
Yeah.
And then Zano will be the sixth blockchain that gets integrated natively
Yeah.
to the Bitcoin.com wallet app. And hopefully in the future, although that is not confirmed, you can also hold the confidential assets on the Bitcoin.com wallet app.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see if that's going to happen.
Well, from the use case perspective, I guess, of what you said, we'll use PriFi. I'll play along with the term for PriFi. I mean, is there more demand or more excitement from kind of institutions, retail users? Like, where do you see that, I guess, scaling in terms of privacy?
Well, obviously privacy is a loaded term in crypto. Also, a lot of governments trying to ban it, although you can't really, because that's the beauty of privacy blockchains. You can ban it, but you actually at the same time can't, because you can track it. So, but yeah, there's a good example, which is called a project that is going to be launched on top of Zano's blockchain called Confidential Layer. And that is a project that is divided in three features again, which is called Confidential Wallet, Confidential Bridge, and Confidential Money. And Confidential Money is going to be the first privacy stablecoin on top of Zano.
Yeah.
Confidential Wallet will be a multi-asset wallet that they will create. And then the bridge is also a very exciting part because it creates interoperability between the Zano blockchain and transparent blockchains like Bitcoin or Ethereum, but also other privacy blockchains such as Vero. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but they also have a thing called Spark Assets, which is their version of confidential assets.
Yeah, you mentioned, I think you mentioned the idea of how difficult it is to ban some of these things, but we have seen regulators certainly try to do their best. I think Tornado Cash might be a good example to maybe point to in terms
Samurai
of just
devs.
basically adding it to the sanctioned list and trying to go that route. I mean, how do you navigate that when you're offering privacy to users as a blockchain? And how do you look at that risk?
It's a good question.
Well, it definitely is a risk, and it is concerning that stuff like that is happening. Very concerning to me, because the Tornado Cash developers did nothing more than create code, and apparently that's illegal. They themselves did nothing illegal, although they get punished or prosecuted for the fact that they created code that others can use for illegal activities.
Yeah.
But that's the same as saying that that the government is responsible for all the criminal activity that's going on with cash money, because they provide the cash money, which is a bit of it's strange to me. But the beauty with Zano again is that it's open source code, so the code is there, and what's been created can't be undone.
Yeah.
So it will always exist.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I mean, obviously, jurisdiction from jurisdiction, it's been interesting to see kind of how they've handled the idea of
Yeah, they use the law in the way that they want to use it. If they want to get you, if they want to make a point, then they'll twist it to fit their narrative.
privacy and not being able to see everything continues to be top of mind, I think, for regulators around the world. When it comes to, I guess, your guys' next steps, like you said, some of these have only been live for a few weeks. So what should people look forward to as we move through 2024?
Lots. We just had the hard fork, which is called the Zarcanum hard fork. That happened 3 weeks ago, which introduced world's first proof of stake scheme with hidden amounts. So to explain that shortly, with proof of stake, they could never be as private as proof of work previously, because with proof of stake, you have to reveal the amount that you are staking to the network in order to validate how much your stake is. Now we found a way around it, so you can stake in complete anonymity, so to say. So that is huge for all of blockchain, so to say, because it's a huge development for proof of stake. Maybe other blockchains will start using it. Yeah, hopefully. I'll have to see if that's gonna happen. And then the confidential assets feature got created, obviously, got introduced. We have implemented a fee burning system, so all transaction fees are getting burned. The more the Zano ecosystem gets adopted, the more gets burned. So eventually that could even lead to a deflationary supply. Yeah. And things on the roadmap are a Zano Trade, which is going to be our own decentralized exchange based on atomic swaps. Our own version of atomic swaps is called ionic swaps, which is like an improvement of atomic swaps. So people can trade the confidential assets and Zano on there. Other things is the Zano governance system that we have coming, so all of our stakers can vote anonymously, once again, on important matters of the ecosystem. And we are focusing on the adoption part a lot now, because most of the code, we have working products, all of that is in place. Now we want people to adopt it and use it. Yeah. So we're focusing heavily on getting Zano integrated on as many wallets, but also getting people to create confidential assets on top of Zano to actually use what we have been creating, because it's a very powerful technology, but now we need people to start using it. So therefore we're going to introduce the Zano Grants program, which is like, like the name says, a grants program. Developers can apply for a grant if they have a cool idea that they want to launch a decentralized application on Zano. Then they can get a grant to create their decentralized application or their confidential asset on top of Zano. So lots going on.
Yeah, clearly. I mean, obviously a lot to pay attention to as we move forward. But Quentin Van Welzen, I appreciate you taking the time, man.
You too, Zach.
Chat with us. Yeah,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, that was nice. This video is old now, actually, but so it'd be interesting to see what they've got working out of that and where they're at now. I do keep hearing the name, so I know they're popular, and he mentioned something about Bitcoin.com wallet, getting some integration there, so I'm sure that's boosted some adoption. What do you guys think? What does everyone in the chat think of Zano? You guys have any opinions on that? I think for the final part of the show, we're probably just going to do a bit of a monologue here. We're going to read some tweets that I found. Let's see. Oh, no, actually, first, tell you what, we're going to show you. This is interesting. So this is a little kind of what do you call it? An app that basically teaches you about cypherpunk principles, which is kind of cool. So this is for people that are new to crypto, want to learn about the roots of crypto in a very sort of simple, I suppose fun way. So here we're going to run through this. Run genesis_archive.exe. So what if your every digital whisper could be heard? What if your every transaction, every message, every thought shared online was catalogued, analysed and stored forever? In the shadows of the early internet, a group of digital rebels asked these very questions and decided to fight back with the most powerful weapon of all, code. Let's begin the mission. Chapter 1, the digital frontier. Before Bitcoin, before Ethereum, before the blockchain revolution took the world by storm, there existed a different kind of rebel, the cypherpunk. These weren't your typical outlaws. They were mathematicians, programmers, and philosophers armed with cryptographic algorithms instead of 6-shooters. In the 1990s, as the internet began to take shape, these digital pioneers gathered in virtual spaces, sharing encrypted messages and debating the future of privacy, freedom, and democracy in the digital age. They believed that strong cryptography was not just a tool, it was a fundamental right. Privacy is necessary for an open society in the electronic age. We cannot expect governments, corporations, or other large faceless organizations to grant us privacy out of their beneficence. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. This was their manifesto, their code of honor in the digital frontier. So here we go. The crypto wars timeline. So start the intel briefing. Public key cryptography discovered. There you go. PGP released to the world 1991. 1993, the Clipper chip controversy. 1995, SSL protocol introduced. 2001, AES advanced encryption standard. So let's read through these. So in 1976, public key cryptography was discovered. Whitfield Diffie and Martin Hellman publish New Directions in Cryptography, introducing the concept of public key cryptography. This breakthrough allows secure communication without sharing secret keys. Impact, foundation for all modern secure communications. And then later, in 1991, a fair gap there, from 1976 to 1991, PGP released to the world. Phil Zimmermann releases Pretty Good Privacy, or PGP, making military-grade encryption available to civilians. The US government considers this a violation of arms export restrictions. Impact, democratized encryption for the masses. This one's very important. And then we go to just 2 years later, 1993, the Clipper chip controversy. The US government proposes the Clipper chip, an encryption device with a government backdoor. Cypherpunks rally against this attempt to weaken privacy, ultimately defeating the proposal. Impact, established precedent against government backdoors. So 1995, 2 years later, SSL protocol introduced. Netscape introduces Secure Sockets Layer, SSL, bringing cryptographic security to web browsing. This protocol becomes the foundation for HTTPS and secure e-commerce. I'm sure everyone's heard of HTTPS. Impact, enabled secure web commerce and communications. Imagine if we didn't have that. Just imagine that, how that would affect things. 2001, Advanced Encryption Standard, AES. The US government adopts AES as the official encryption standard, replacing DES. This cipher, originally called Rijndael, becomes the worldwide standard for symmetric encryption. Impact, standardized modern encryption globally. End of timeline. So proceed to chapter 2. Chapter 2, a Cypherpunks manifesto. On March the 9th, 1993, Eric Hughes published what would become the foundational document of the cypherpunk movement, a Cypherpunks manifesto. In it, he laid out the philosophical groundwork for everything that would follow, from PGP encryption, to Bitcoin. Privacy is not secrecy. A private matter is something one doesn't want the whole world to know, but secret matter is something one doesn't want anybody to know. Privacy is the power to selectively reveal oneself to the world. Cypherpunks write code. We know that someone has to write software to defend privacy, and since we can't get privacy unless we all do, we're going to write it. This manifesto became the rallying cry for a generation of developers who would go on to create the tools and technologies that power today's decentralized web. They understood that code wasn't just instructions for computers, it was a form of political action. Oh, look at this. Test your knowledge. According to the Cypherpunks manifesto, what is the key difference between privacy and secrecy? That was cool. So they got this little... okay. Privacy. So I'll see time from everyone. What did Cypherpunks believe was a primary tool for defending digital freedom? Here we go. Submit. Awesome. Advancing to completion screen. Mission 1 complete. Genesis base. You've successfully completed the genesis of a movement and earned your first badge in the Cypherpunk legacy track. You now understand the philosophical foundations that led to the blockchain revolution. Next. Okay. I guess do I have to like connect my wallet or something to get onto the next part? Not sure here. Return to dashboard. Oh yeah, here we go. So you've got this, and then you've also got this. Master the technical arts of Solana development. You got some coding challenges. So can we continue this? Explore the pillars. This is cool. Let's do this one as well. And I think we'll do module 2, and then we'll we'll jump onto something else. The cypherpunks didn't just dream of digital freedom, they identified the fundamental pillars that would support it. These technological and philosophical foundations became the blueprint for everything that followed. The 4 pillars: privacy through encryption, decentralized architecture, anonymity networks, and resilient networks. Today, you'll experience these pillars firsthand through interactive scenarios that demonstrate why each one is crucial for digital freedom. Understanding these concepts is essential before we move into the technical implementation of blockchain systems. Okay. What do you guys think so far? This is kind of cool. Let's see if we're going to get like a cool visual here. So here we go. Privacy. Pillar 1. Privacy through encryption. Real world scenario simulation. Emergency communication. A journalist a journalist in an oppressive regime has uncovered evidence of government corruption. They need to safely transmit this sensitive document to their editor in another country. The government monitors all communications and severely punishes dissidents. Mission parameters. Document must reach editor safely without exposing journalist's identity. How should the journalist transmit the document? Option 1. Send the document through a social media direct message to the editor. It's quick and convenient, and they use this platform regularly unencrypted communication. Option B. Encrypt the document using PGP encryption, then send it through a secure end-to-end encrypted messaging service designed for journalists. Option B. Correct choice. Outcome. The document reaches the editor safely. Even if intercepted, the PGP encryption makes it unreadable to surveillance systems. Why this works. End-to-end encryption ensures only the intended recipient can decrypt the message. The journalist's identity and the document's contents remain protected. Privacy pillar. Strong encryption protects both message content and sender identity. Interesting. So, I guess it could be... It wasn't much of a simulation here. I don't know, I guess, what I expected, but we're going to proceed to pillar 2. Anonymous remailer. Pillar 2, anonymity networks. Interactive remailer demonstration. Okay, this looks a little better. Watch how a message travels through multiple remailer nodes to achieve anonymity. Each node strips away identifying information, making it impossible to trace the original sender. Demo. Click send message to see anonymity in action. Okay. What happened? Your message passed through 3 remailer nodes. Each node removed the identifying information and re-encrypted the message before forwarding it. Result. The recipient receives a message but cannot trace it back to you even if one node is compromised. Your identity remains protected. Anonymity pillar. Multiple hops break the connection between sender and receiver. Okay. Proceed to pillars 3 and 4. Pillars 3 and 4, decentralization and resilience, network architecture comparison. Explore the fundamental difference between centralized and decentralized networks. Click on nodes to see how each architecture responds to failures. Okay. Click the central server to simulate failure. Okay, interesting. Boom. No. Decentralized network. Click any node to simulate failure. Okay, fault tolerant mesh network. There we go. What happens if we click them all? Centralized network failure. What happened? When the central server failed, the entire network became unusable. All communication paths were severed simultaneously. Real world impact. This is why centralized services can be easily censored or shut down by authorities. A single point of failure affects everyone. Important to note that, guys, if you didn't know it already. Vulnerability. All eggs in one basket make the system fragile. That's it. We've completed module 2. Mission 2 complete. Pillars badge acquired. You've mastered the 4 foundational pillars of digital freedom: privacy, anonymity, decentralization, and resilience. These principles guide all modern privacy preserving technologies, including blockchain systems. Cool. So let's see what else we got. The tweets. Let's do some tweets. So we were talking about this last week. If you're wondering why everyone's suddenly pushing compliant privacy or opt-in privacy so far equals mostly FE shielded wrappers and back-end nakedness with Fed routing, it's because regulators are hunting privacy apps, especially DeFi. Meanwhile, most private info remains untouched. Carlotta Fang here said, some corporate developers are trying to play both sides, acting like champions of privacy and begging for VC funding, yet ready to cooperate with law enforcement and throw users under the bus in a heartbeat. Cypherpunks will prevail. The privacy corpo feds, what a great term, are more active than ever and they're demanding your KYC. Be careful. So I'm going to retweet that. Absolutely, yeah. As I said, we were talking about this last week. And I think, it's because of the recent push, in adoption and things that have been happening in the US, and then it's kind of forcing the issue because more banks and enterprise and all this kind of stuff are getting on, and so people are getting worried that I guess they're going to be under threat, and I guess so is the bag, so is the project, and so this is sort of becoming the real split between the real privacy apps and the fake privacy apps. Let's see here, and I've got another one. Okay, this is the rest of the tweet. So, meanwhile, most private info remains untouched and aren't doing anything to help because of neutrality. Penumbra is just one of many, by the way, as others have pivoted or are also shutting down. Shout out to the team and glad the protocol itself survived thanks to decentralization and being open source. Privacy is a human right and the cypherpunks will win. See, and so I guess some people are taking that route as well, either complying or shutting down. Which is sad to see. We're sad to announce that Penumbra Labs is winding down operations given the current difficult regulatory environment. All our software contributions, including the Penumbra protocol software, I guess it says, are open sourced and permissively licensed. The community can continue development of these projects. We believe developers have the right to write open source privacy software and support Coin Center in their fight for these principles. Thank you to everyone who supported our mission. Wow. Let's see. I got another tweet here from YBM actually. We tried to onboard the masses. YBM was in the chat before. Oh, we got Solidario. Good night. Good night, bro. Why? Because, okay, we've tried to onboard the masses, normal people to crypto for the last 5 years. So the question is just, why are they still not here? And YBM says, why? Because the cypherpunk ethos of the 80s and 90s freedom from government control has been hijacked by VCs and developers who only look after themselves. Decentralized is just marketing, while the public is fed new dreams every cycle. The truth is simple. People are gamblers, and the poor take the biggest risks because they dream of escape. Until we stop building casinos and start building something truly useful, crypto won't be a revolution. Amen. Well said, YBM. Cool that we got you in the chat, man. I didn't know, didn't expect that, but yeah, I saw this before and figured I'd pull it up on the live stream because I quite liked what you said there. Very true. Right, so what we're going to do, we're going to end with, in fact, just a little bit of an update on the UK situation. Actually, still, the public not happy, protests every day, couple a day sometimes, a super heated situation right now. So we're going to just look at the latest videos here, and just to show people that are watching that might not be aware of the situation in the UK, what's going on right now. And this is interesting because people are, standing up for what they think is right, For a long time, British public has been in a bit of a lull. The whole society, dude, it's just we've been dragged down. And now people are, waking up and taking to the streets. And whether you agree with what they stand for or not, it's definitely interesting to see, you know, a turn of the tide in terms of people taking action. You know, people actually taking to the streets. I think this is probably one of the biggest movements that we've ever seen in the UK. You know, and is it going to end up in some kind of revolution? Are we going to get the same again? You know, we're going to get this kind of new parties coming in, such as Reform, and are they going to, as you know, maybe Nigel has done before, hasn't been honest, hasn't followed through on the things that he said he was going to do, and so, you know, another false prophet situation. That's a likely scenario. That's usually what happens. So hopefully, you know, it isn't wasted potential here, right? There's an opening here where we can advance, you know, the space of freedom. So I'd like to see, it's an opportunity as well, you know. That's another point really I want to make. There's an opportunity right now in the UK to advance the space of freedom. And yeah, I don't think that's going to happen with Reform. But I do think the people, you know, there's an opportunity here for us to push privacies, to push crypto, to push, you know, anonymous communication systems. Because if you think about, you know, what people are mad about, it's crackdowns on freedom of speech, it's surveillance, it's a bunch of things, but you know, very relevant to kind of the things that we talk about here. So have a look at this. We got 10,000 people in Skegness. It's 21 hours ago.
And this is completely calm, safe, no.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it. Just.
And then we've even got another one here an hour ago. Manchester Hotel. Police were forced to step in as protesters clashed outside a South Manchester hotel. So Manchester, Skegness. Solidario says fake pioneers. I'm guessing he was talking about what we were discussing just before watching this video. Solidario says, what are they protesting? A lot of things, Solidario. They're protesting their right to all sorts of things, freedom of speech. I guess, you know, to be treated as first-class citizens. Because one of the main gripes right now is that people that are coming in, there are too many illegal immigrants and just immigrants in general that are coming in and getting better treatment than the native people by people that are actually, you know, like British citizens. Because they're putting them in hotels. Sometimes these hotels are like 4-star hotels. You know, the narrative is that they've got on-site doctors and nurses, while, you know, the British public is struggling to get into hospital because of the wait times and the queues. They're getting free mobile phones, free internet, you know, rent paid, all this kind of stuff. And so people are seeing this and they're not happy, right? Because we already had a situation where energy prices were through the roof, inflation was up, tax was getting higher and higher, and so everyone was already squeezed. And I think this is kind of the tip of the iceberg. There's a bunch of other things. It's also come at the same time as a grooming scandal, where basically in our country it was found that all across the country in major towns and cities there were a bunch of gangs, basically grooming gangs that were, grooming kids, and so that came to light recently, and so that kind of mixes with the immigration issue, and then it's brought up issues about Islam, because a lot of the people in these grooming gangs that did most of the grooming and the abuse were Pakistani men, and they were Muslims, and so it's kind of sparked a massive debate in our society right now in the UK as to, one, whether we should vet people more, and two, should we tolerate is the Islamification of the UK? Should we tolerate is Islam at odds with Western values? That's kind of the debate at the moment. So it's a bunch of things. So it's, like I say, the people are seeing foreign people getting treated better than them. It's already a bad situation. They already felt really angry and really, downtrodden. And then you've got this other thing with Islam, and it's just been terrible. Like Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister that we have right now, raising taxes on everyone, messing with businesses, and then gaslighting everyone. When everyone's like saying, well, we're angry and we need to do something about this, then he calls everyone far right. And so that doesn't help the situation. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what to do. So Solidario said here, fakes these days. Okay. The government in Turkey is forcefully taking land from people these days. Fake scarcity. Oh, the grooming gangs, it's on my feed. The double standard against Christians is also very noticeable. Don't tolerate Islam because they won't tolerate you either. I mean, the fundamentalists. Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and that's one of the problems, because we've been too weak. We've just allowed this thing to exist, really. We've allowed it to spread, and we've allowed fundamentalism to spread. Leftists have a fetish for Islamists. Yeah, it does kind of seem that way. I mean, whether you agree with the right or left, I think it's reasonable to say that there's obviously a problem here, like with, the Islamification of the UK. So I agree, and the leftists don't want to admit that. Like, I don't understand why they can't just be like, okay, yeah, it kind of hasn't been as modernized maybe as Christianity. Like, there's still some pretty bad things that are going on in the Muslim countries, and those kind of clash with the advancements that we've made in people's rights over the past 100 years, however, 200 years. So, see, real leftists are still saying, yeah, and that's another thing as well. Yeah, I don't even really like using the term leftist, because it plays into that whole divide. So it says, I don't know what people expect, importing thousands of people from completely alien cultures. Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. And then, like I say, gaslighting people, like, oh, this isn't a problem, nothing bad, it's just a bunch of racists, it's just a bunch of far-right fascists, without just acknowledging. That's like a reasonable take, Laszlo, that you just given there. I don't know what people expect, importing thousands of people from completely alien cultures. Pretty normal take, right? But that will make a lot of people mad. A lot of people will be triggered by that. I don't understand what's so crazy about that statement that people can't handle it. And then what else we've got here, just to add to this, because this is not just restricted to the UK, but it just seems like the UK, it's the most hot right now. Solidario says their real agenda is to end nation states. Well, look at this, Solidario. If I can find, where's it gone? Oh, there it is. Yeah. We got the link. So, and build a global Big Brother state. Here we go. Oh no, another advert. So apparently, protests are going on in Australia as well. This was a video, Sky News Australia, 11 hours ago. It looks like this is kind of spreading
in cities across Australia today. But first, tens of thousands of people marched in cities across Australia today to show their pride in Australia and to call for a stop to mass immigration.
The government's supposed to work for us, the people. We don't want half there not going on, so we're making a stand today to make things right. The Albo, you work for us, mate, and you've got to go.
Yeah, Australians turned out in force despite the fear-mongering from politicians and the media.
Australia is a nation of foreigners, just like that wonderful song says. From all the lands on earth we come. And Australia isn't a place.
The funny point that people make, and this is obviously true, whether it discounts their arguments or not is different point. But do you think this woman lives amongst all the people that they're importing? Do you think this woman here, Solidario, lives on the council estate or the tower block that they're housing these people in? I guess that'd be interesting to find out, wouldn't it? When she's saying, oh, everyone's an immigrant, so that means we should just bring them in. Is she going to house them next to her house? Are they in her community? Or do we think she lives somewhere nice, away from all of this stuff, away from all the stuff that the poor people have to deal with?
Where we walk with Nazis. Australia is a place that went to war with Nazis.
See, it's that same gaslighting thing and then calling everyone a Nazi.
Absolutely condemn the March for Australia rally that's going on today. It is not about increasing social harmony. We think, and I think the vast majority of the Australians think that multiculturalism has been a good thing for our country.
Labor politicians should have had more faith in their fellow Australians when neo-Nazi leader Jack Eltis was given the microphone.
Thing is, so they're conflating these things, right? So multiculturalism could still in some ways be a good thing for society. That's a separate issue from, do we have the resources and do we have the public support of, you know, the kind of ideologies that they might be coming over with? Those are different things. So diversity, you know, Sikhs or Indians or, you know, anything, Jamaicans, right? Maybe you don't have maybe they're not the issue. I'm not even saying that Islam is the issue. I'm just saying they're talking about this as if it's a singular thing, like, oh, therefore they're saying this, therefore diversity is bad. Well, maybe they don't think diversity is bad. Maybe they just think right now the country can't handle it. Many countries, Solidario says, many countries are experiencing a drop in population, and the idea is they need immigrants to fill a job. Exactly, yeah, no, that is true. That is true. You do, I've noticed it. A lot of Uber drivers, Just Eat, you know, Uber Eats, all that kind of stuff, the food delivery. They're all doing that. I'm not even sure how they're passing the tests because, you know, to get a driver's license, because a lot of them don't even speak English. Which is another thing I noticed, which is kind of strange. So I don't know how they're driving around and how they've, you know, been registered as, you know, like an employee on Just Eat and Uber Eats, etc. And that's something that people are complaining about.
Phone in Sydney, large numbers of people booed and many left the event.
At one point in Melbourne, pro-Australia protesters even came face to face with pro-Palestinian protesters. Have a look.
There's a lot to unpack in the events of today, but let's start with the key concerns, it seems, of the majority of people who marched around Australia. They're upset that mass immigration has replaced controlled immigration. There was no one that I heard or saw who was anti-immigration. They were anti-mass immigration. And the other concern is that multiculturalism has clearly replaced assimilation. As a result, our country is changing. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. We've got ethnic enclaves around the country. We've got civil unrest every weekend, pro-Palestinian, Look
at that, make Australia great again. Everyone's using that brand now, aren't they?
Tests. Crime is clearly up as a result of mass immigration in certain areas. And we're continually told on top of that that Australia is built on stolen land and that our history is something to be ashamed of. Is it any wonder then that so many regular mums, dads are upset? For Murray Watt to come on Sky News this morning and say that these protests were just as a broad brushstroke hateful and divisive is disingenuous.
So Solidaro says maybe robots is the answer. The need for immigrants might be a lie too. We need less workers for a shrinking population. I think we should be doubtful about the need of immigration. Yes.
He knows very well that the vast majority of people are not at all hateful. But even Brad Batten, the Victorian opposition leader, said anyone who's anti-immigration is racist. Well, that's the most stupid thing to say. Immigration is a policy. It's not an indictment on a certain ethnic group. Yeah,
that's exactly what I was saying before, right? It's not, as he said, it's not an indictment on an ethnic group.
Could be anti-immigration without being racist. And so for the Victorian opposition leader to just write off large numbers of people like that is just silly. But I do understand why politicians, maybe Brad Batten, would be nervous about picking a side in this fight because, as we said, these protests were marred by neo-Nazis getting involved and the lack of leadership in terms of who's running these things, that would be a concern for people as well. So I can understand the reluctance of politicians to get involved, but to dismiss it as hateful and divisive.
What, to get involved in the march, or you're talking about the policy in general?
To get involved in the march.
OK, no, that I can understand. From what I observed, or everything that I've seen today, there wasn't a lot of neo-Nazis at these protests. The majority of people at these protests were everyday Aussies who have quite frankly had a gutful of this country being overrun by absolute madness, out of control, runaway immigration policy. I mean, we've had more than 1.1 million immigrants come into this country since Labor was elected. And let's be realistic, but we can't sugarcoat this, James. There have been people who've brought into this country.
Yeah, that's the thing. So someone made the point, Solidario, that if the UK was to suggest just dumping 1 million, like native English people, like white people, if they were to just dump them into Nigeria, that would be completely unacceptable. You know what I'm saying? Like, could you imagine if that was then the narrative? Imagine if that was the objective. We're like, okay, we're just gonna like flood Nigeria with English people. That would be seen as, some kind of like, what would you call it? Like light genocide of black people, So it's interesting that when the roles reversed, no one really thinks about it like that. No one seems to care in the same way. They think, oh, it's just racism, But it'd be racist to do it the other way around. So, yeah, that's it. Just something to think about. Solidarius says, so please nuke the WEF, the WEF.
Country, some who hate us, some who hate our values, some who have absolutely no interest in assimilating in this country. So I say good on those people for getting out there and taking a stand. In fact, I think this marks a pivotal moment. I was actually heartened to see all of those Australian flags. People had them draped over them. They were waving them proudly. Thank goodness, finally, we're seeing some Australian pride.
Well, where was Murray Watt calling out the pro-Palestinian rallies as hateful and divisive?
Well,
but if an Aussie flag gets waved, all of a sudden it's an extremist behaviour.
And this is the point I want to make, because let's be honest, it is not hateful to wave the Australian flag.
Of course not.
It is not hateful to love your country. It is not hateful to be proud of your country. Yet you've got the left who peddle this ridiculous narrative that it's racist to wave the Australian flag. Honestly, it's like they tie themselves in knots of guilt constantly. The absolute self-loathing is out of control. And secondly, it's also not hateful to bring up the fact that people are worried about the state of this country when you've got flags of terror groups being waved so brazenly down the Harbour Bridge, or we saw what happened at the Sydney Opera House days after the Hamas attacks. And I find it appalling that the media are just writing today with this neo-Nazi line, marred by neo-Nazis. Yes, I agree that there were neo-Nazis. I do agree, and I condemn that. It is absolutely abhorrent. We should all be condemning that.
But that's what the media does, right?
But the point of this...
The media look for conflict.
They do, but the majority... Why wouldn't you write the article? Tens of thousands of people marching for Australia, proud of this country. It just baffles me.
Because that's not going to sell papers. It's the conflict that sells.
And the other thing I would say is that I also don't think it's unfair to question the types of people we are bringing into this country, especially those who come from places whose values are incompatible with Western democracies, and that is not racist to talk about, and you're not a bigot to bring it up.
So everything you've said is correct. The question, though, is where does this movement go? So as a result of today, clearly a big movement. First question, do politicians listen, or do they continue to deride these people? If they deride them and demonise them, then we'll see these marches increase and continue, which raises my second question, and that's the question of leadership. We don't have a Nigel Farage in this country to lead a pro-Australian movement, which leaves it open to either idiots leading the movement. I don't know how a neo-Nazi was given a microphone in Sydney.
I agree, appalling.
That was just a stupid decision. Someone messed up badly there. And so there's either that or you get radicals taking hold of the movement. So those are questions that I'm interested to see what happens moving forward.
Leading up to the last election, migration was not front and centre. Actually, in the last two elections, migration has not been front
They
and centre.
discredit proper nationalists as fascists, Solidario says.
Shy away from.
Correct.
You will recall that Peter Dutton did make that pledge to...
Yeah, that's the usual playbook. Anyone that's revolutionary, anyone that's innovative, anyone that's thinking outside the box and pushing back against the status quo, there'll be some kind of extremist.
Cap migration numbers at a certain amount, which, by the way, leading economists, for example, Leith Van Onselen, said it's simply not going to be enough because given the housing crisis, we need to really dramatically scale it back. But they did not prosecute. The coalition were too scared to go that further on. And I can honestly say, and we've got Pauline Hanson coming up on the show tonight.
They're losing numbers to One Nation because they talk about it.
Exactly. The only party that is willing to prosecute this argument, and I maintain it is not racist to talk about migration and you're not a bigot to bring it up. But political parties shy away from it. Forget Labor. They're not going to do anything because high migration actually suits Labor politically, but they're not going to do anything about it. It is up to the coalition to prosecute this, and I do not think that they will.
And in terms of these marches and where they go, and if they get ugly, the fault is not primarily the marches. It's our mainstream politicians, Labor and Liberal, who refuse to have the conversation.
Yeah.
If you end up with chaos on the streets, it's the fault.
Exactly what's happened here. They just refuse to have the conversation.
Won't allow a conversation. That's the big
I
issue.
completely agree. Meanwhile, big Australia...
And now there's like 2 marches a day. Thousands of people marching every single day. Caring for your people, says Solidario, and protecting or defending your identity isn't fascism. Agreed. Just because you're proud of your country, you're proud of your nation, proud of where you come from, that doesn't mean that you have to be some kind of, hyper nationalist where, you believe in empire building, and taking over the world, and, your country can do no wrong, or your state. People have to separate like the state and the nation state. They want people to assimilate in a global soup, says Solidario. Yeah, it does seem like this kind of weird globalist thing. We need more than one single global state. Yeah, it's crazy, dude. To think anyone would have that position and take it seriously and think that, one centralized global state is a good idea. This is another argument that I brought up last episode about, it's funny how people never address that their position is a good idea until the person that they like doesn't get into power. So let's say you got this kind of liberal utopia, where there's one single global state, and they're like, oh, it's great because it'll just regulate everything from the top, and that point at the top will be where all of the best values lie, and that'll trickle down into the whole system will be perfect because the values at the top of the system are perfect. But then what happens if Hitler gets in and then he's controlling all the situation? He's got his hands on the levers. Then he's got control of the whole planet. I don't understand how people reason this into existence as some kind of credible argument. It's like, how can you have that view? How could you be seen so naive to think that it's a good idea? Just total control. Not even that, just the disgusting nature of it. Total control over everyone. You know, it's so weird. Solidaire says, in case we got a crazy and harmful state, the others can stop it. 80 years ago, what if the Nazis were a global government? True, well said. Okay, yeah, exactly. Well, we're coming up to the hour and a half mark, so I'm going to shut the stream off there. So thanks for coming, guys. Really appreciate it. I'm going to end with a little ad from Luna DAO. So Laszlo says, Laszlo Wise, if we all assimilate into a single global state, that will destroy the diversity which leftists and globalists care about so much. Another good point. It's just an incoherent way to look at the way. It's so dumb. But yeah, thanks for coming, guys. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.
Unchecked governments have eradicated privacy and truth. Those who resist are brought down swiftly, but we refuse to submit. Unapunks are freedom fighters, protected by encrypted shadows. The future we're building is sovereign and uncensorable. The moon at night,